Hey there, I'm just going to be filming this ridiculous issue I have with this Gigabyte motherboard. Um, Basically, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It may have to do with the power supply incompatibility with the this particular motherboard that some users have been speculating about. So far, Gigabyte hasn't acknowledged this issue. So, I'm just going to try turning on this computer to show you what it does. Everything's hooked up correctly. The power supply is connected to the motherboard and everything's basically all wired up. So here we go. See what happened there? Let me do that again. Oh, it actually worked that time. So as you can see, I tried it twice. It didn't work. The first two times. On the third time, it actually did work. And usually that doesn't actually happen. Sometimes I tried like maybe hundreds of times, and oh well, look, it turned off again. So I don't know what the issue is there. Let me try turning it on again, and I'm getting the same issue. It seems to me that the fan seems to be okay. It's working again this time. So it's on and off, and well, this thing's driving me crazy. Oh well, just turned off again. There you go. Yeah, this thing's driving me crazy because I absolutely have no idea what's going on here. But I suspect it may have to do with a power supply incompatibility with this motherboard. Some users have mentioned that because of the different power management, the all-digital power management on this motherboard particularly doesn't play too well with certain power supplies. I have another power supply here, which this is a Cooler Master 550 watt power supply, which worked perfectly all the time with this motherboard. I never had any issue with this particular power supply when connected to this computer. But I've gone through two other power supplies. I first got a Seasonic power supply, a Seasonic 860 watt power supply, and I was having the same problems. I thought it might be the power supply because I tried this power supply and it worked. So I returned that, got this, a Corsair AX860i power supply. Now, if you know your power supplies, you know that both Corsair and Seasonic are among the top power supplies on the market. So the fact that both of them aren't functioning, is pretty much, the chance of that being so is pretty much zero. So this Corsair power supply actually does happen to have a self-test button right here, which confirms that this power supply is working, but only if I actually disconnect it from the motherboard. So I'm going to do that right now. See, the thing with this power supply is the self-test doesn't actually turn on unless self-test doesn't actually work unless it's unplugged. So let's give that another go. There we go, and you can see that the power supply actually does turn on, and the fans are spinning. You can probably hear it. The light's on. So that happens because the self-test doesn't actually work unless the cables are unplugged. So now to plug them back in, we can see that it's actually not an issue of the power supply being dysfunctional. It's the motherboard, essentially, as I've tried this with numerous, or the other Seasonic power supply as well, and it was having the same exact problems. So let me just plug that back in at the top. Lights on. Let's try this one more time. Okay, actually turns on this time. And CPU fan seems to struggle, but yeah, and it turned off again. So as you can see, and it seems to be, it's driving me nuts. I have no idea what's wrong with this computer. Particularly, it seems to be a motherboard issue. As I've said, there are other reports about this happening. So with certain power supplies. So there you go. Let's try that one more time. Yep, there we go. And I've tried this on different firmwares as well. Firmware, should probably mention that I've tried this on the firmware that the motherboard came with. I think that was F08 or F09. I've upgraded to F11, which is the latest firmware. Still same problem. Then I upgraded it again when it is working to F12E, which is the beta BIOS, and it's same issue. I'm actually having more problems with this BIOS actually, because sometimes the keyboard doesn't work when I'm using this. So yeah, and the BIOS switch, I can switch it to the other side, and I'll have the same exact problem. Fan struggling. Ooh, well, it's working this time again. So it's on and off. Doesn't matter what the firmware seems to be, and well, it turns off again, as you can see. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It seems to be a I've contacted Gigabyte about this, and they said it could be just a defective motherboard. But as I mentioned, other users have had the same problem with his motherboard, and they've exchanged it, and once again we're having the same problem with their the motherboard that they've received in exchange. So I'm not just about to exchange this motherboard just yet, because it seems to be a problem that's I guess firmware related, if anything. So or a problem by the design of the motherboard. So hopefully Gigabyte will acknowledge this issue. If anyone else is having this problem, do let me know, just comment or something. But yeah, there we go. Yep. Alright. Hey, it's me again. I'm just doing a quick follow-up to demonstrate that this is actually a power supply incompatibility problem with this motherboard. So now I have this other power supply here. This is the Cooler Master, things backwards, or upside down, but it's a Cooler Master power supply, 550 watt. It's kind of old, couple years. This isn't actually my own power supply. I've borrowed it from a friend of mine, because I wanted to test the power supply with this computer. But yeah, so I haven't tried this. I've tried this out before, but I've just hooked it up right now. So just gonna turn that on, and the light's on over there, and here we go. This power supply fan is on. Everything seems to be functioning, and it immediately works, and the computer is working. So yeah, as soon as I put this other power supply in, everything works perfectly. This power supply is kind of loud, but yeah, and I hope you can see my screen. And Windows is starting just fine. So there we go. Same motherboard, same exact setup. Didn't change anything. Just moved, basically put in this power supply as opposed to that power supply. And as I've mentioned before, it's not an issue of this other power supply. This Core 7 power supply is not working. self-test works, brand new. I've tried different power supplies, the Seasonic power supply. It should work. It's just an issue of this motherboard being incompatible with certain power supplies, likely, as users have mentioned on forums, because of the all-digital power management that this motherboard has is not exactly tuned to certain power supplies, and that's causing a big problem for some users. There we go. We're in the login screen. Everything works perfectly. I should mention with this Corsair power supply, sometimes it does work. It actually does turn on and function, and I can actually get into Windows sometimes, but it's very unpredictable. And basically, I could come back to the computer the next day and it'll work, and I restart it and it won't work anymore. That's basically how I've upgraded the firmware on this motherboard. When the power supply does work, I've upgraded the firmware because I figured maybe that's gonna fix it, but nope, same problems. As you can see, it fans on, everything's working, power supply is functioning, but yeah, same issue. Let's turn this off. Yeah, as I was saying, I'll switch it back again real quickly. So, shut that off. Light is all hooked up, turned on, lights on. Let's give it a whirl. Doesn't work. There you go. And sometimes it works. It might just turn off again. Who knows? Oh, whoops, I forgot to plug the power into my SSD with Windows. Let me just do that real quickly. Okay, let's try that again. And it turned off. Oh, well, there you go. Seems to be working. So, yeah, there you go. Once in a while it works, once in a while it doesn't. You can probably see why this is driving me crazy. I absolutely have no idea what the issue is, but and Gigabyte's not being very helpful with acknowledging this issue, but yeah, it seems to work right now. Shutting it down again. Let's try that one more time. Okay, turned off. Let's turn it on again. There you go. Doesn't work again. Yeah, so it's nuts, but yeah, there we have it.
Homie, you know what time it is? Magical girls represent. Oh, hell yeah, let's go! Grinding up and down cause they're granting all my wishes. Bringing all my aces like this game is poker. Banish all the witches. Thank you, basement.